So we're going to talk about imaginary and complex numbers. This is a conversation that is better than in person than it is over the screen. So I'm going to be relatively quick. Basically, we have our number line as we normally do, and we're going to put 0 right here in the middle, and we know the positive numbers go that way and the negative numbers go that way. And instead of just stretching it out like this, we're actually going to start stretching it this way. So we're going to create what's called the complex plane. Complex plane. So these, vertically, these are going to be your positive imaginary numbers, which are I. I is the new imaginary number. And down here, we're going to have our negative i's. So every single point on this plane is going to have some information. So let's just talk real quick about what I is. I equals the square root of -1. That is what I is. And you should kind of look at that and go, oh yeah, there is no two numbers that we can multiply together to get -1. So the square root of -1 doesn't exist. So we've kind of developed this idea. So therefore, I squared, well, if I is the square root of -1, I squared is just the square root of -1 times the square root of -1, which is -1. So I squared equals -1. Well, I cubed is going to be, well, it's I squared times I, right? It's I squared times I. And we know I squared is -1, so it's -I. And then I to the 4th, well, that's I squared times I squared. That's -1 times -1, which is 1. And then we might be able to realize, hey, this I is really I to the 1. So what about I to the 0? Well, we were told you, math has told us a while ago that anything to the 0 is 1 except 0 itself, but we don't need to worry about that today. So that's 1, and I to the 4th is 1. So I to the 5th might follow a pattern, and it actually does. So I to the 5th is actually just I, just like I to the 1 is I. And then I to the 6th is I squared, which we know is -1. And it keeps following this pattern. I to the 7th, it goes from -1 to -I. The other way to look at this is this is our point 1, and this is -1. Those are our numbers. I to the 0 is 1. I to the 1 is I squared is -1. I cubed is -I. I to the 4th is 1. I to the 5th, I to the 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th. So we can move around this. The next thing we need to do is talk about like these points over somewhere up here, let's say. Well, this would be, let's say, 3i. Let's say it's a point, right? We'd have I, and then we'd have 2i, 3i. This is the point 1 plus 3i, right? It is a location on the plane. There's no comma. It is, the real part is 1, and the complex part, or the imaginary part, is 3i, and together they create the complex number, right? We have real, we have imaginary, and together they're the complex number. So if we pick over here and go to here, this is the number -2 plus 2i. We usually just write them in parentheses. You don't need to, but it's just it's a good idea to group them up. Similarly, down here, maybe we have -4i here. We could talk about this point here. This is 0.5. So therefore, right where I wrote it, maybe not the most convenient, right there would be the number -1/2, or 0.5, minus 4i. So anyway, we're going to start talking about these numbers. That's about it. There you go.